I thought I knew what heartbreak felt like until my billionaire boyfriend told me to wait in his car while he handled something quick. 20 minutes later, he walked out of Tiffany & Company with another woman wearing my dream ring. This is how I discovered I was just his subscribe secret. If you've ever felt like you weren't enough for someone or wondered if that person you love is hiding you from their world, stay with me because what happened next changed everything I thought I knew about love, money, and self-worth. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss how this story ends. You know that how this story ends feeling when you think you're living in a fairy tale? That's exactly how I felt 3 months into dating Christopher. Picture this. A successful black woman in her late 20s, working as an event coordinator for high-end charity galas, finally meeting what seemed like the perfect man. He was everything I thought I wanted. Successful, charming, and wealthy, beyond my wildest dreams. I met Christopher at one of the events I was coordinating. It was a fundraiser for children's education, and he was one of the major donors. While I was making sure everything ran smoothly, he approached me with this confident smile and said, "You make this look effortless." We talked for hours that night, and I was completely captivated by his intelligence and charm. He asked for my number, and I gave it to him without hesitation. The next 3 how I fell in love with Christopher months felt like something out of a movie. Christopher would pick me up in his Tesla, take me to restaurants where the wine cost more than my monthly rent, and shower me with gifts that made me feel like I was the most special woman in the world. He'd fly me to weekend getaways on his private jet, and I'd wake up in luxurious hotels overlooking the ocean. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was truly being pampered and adored. But here's the truth about fairy tales. They are not real. And the signs were there from the very beginning, staring me right in the face. I was just too blinded by the lifestyle and the attention to see them clearly. Christopher always insisted on coming to my apartment instead of me visiting his place. When I'd suggest it, he'd say something like, "Your place is so cozy and intimate. I love being there with you." At first, I thought it was sweet. Looking back, I realized he was keeping me away from his real life. Never posted photos of us together on social media. I'd take cute pictures of us at dinner and he'd always find an excuse not to post them. "I'm a private person," he'd say. "I don't like mixing my personal life with social media." Again, I thought it was admirable. I convinced myself that he was protecting our relationship from the outside world. His phone was always face down when we were together. Always. If it rang, he'd either ignore it or step away to answer it. When I'd ask who it was, he'd give vague answers like just business or my assistant. I started to feel like there was this whole part of his life that I wasn't allowed to access. The most telling sign was that I never met any of his friends or family. In 3 months of dating, not one person from his world knew I existed. When I'd bring it up, he'd say, "Soon, baby. I just want to keep you to myself a little longer." And like a fool, I believed him because I wanted to believe him. I was so caught I ignored every red flag up in the excitement of dating someone successful that I ignored every red flag. I ignored the fact that he only took me to restaurants in different parts of the city, never the same place twice. I ignored that he never stayed the night at my place, always leaving before midnight. I ignored that he knew everything about my life, my friends, my family, but I knew practically nothing about his. The truth is, I was then came that Tuesday grateful for the attention and the lifestyle that I didn't want to rock the boat. I didn't want to be that woman who asked too many questions or seemed needy. I convinced myself that this was just how successful men operated, compartmentalized and private. Then came that Tuesday in November that changed everything. Christopher had been particularly sweet that week, sending me flowers at work and taking me to this amazing new restaurant downtown. He suggested we go shopping that afternoon, something we'd never done together before. I was excited because I thought maybe this meant he was ready to be more public with our relationship. We drove to the upscale shopping district in his black Bentley and I felt like I was on top of the world. We walked around a few stores and he bought me a beautiful silk scarf from one of the boutiques. Everything felt perfect, like we were finally acting like a real couple in public. Then we stopped in front of Tiffany and Company. My heart started racing because in my mind there was only one reason a man would take his girlfriend to Tiffany's. I started imagining him proposing, picturing myself calling my mother with the news, planning our future together. But instead of taking my hand and walking in with me, Christopher turned and said, "Baby, I need to handle something quick in there. It's business related. Can you wait here in the car? I'll be right back." I should have questioned it. I should have asked what kind of business he could possibly have at a jewelry store. But I was so conditioned to not asking questions that I just smiled and said, "Of course, take your time." Those 20 minutes I spent waiting in that car were the longest 20 minutes of my life. I sat there mind racing with possibilities. Maybe he was buying me a surprise gift. Maybe he was planning a proposal and wanted to keep it secret. Maybe he was buying something for his mother or sister. I came up with every possible explanation except the one that was actually happening. I watched people walk in and out of the store. Couples holding hands, women admiring rings in the window display. I was getting more and more excited, imagining Christopher coming back with a little blue box for me. Then I saw him walk out of the store and my entire world collapsed in an instant. He wasn't alone. There was a woman with him, a tall blonde woman in an expensive coat, and she was holding his hand. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was what was on her finger. She was wearing a ring, a huge sparkling diamond ring that caught the light and seemed to mock me from across the street. They were both smiling and she kept looking at the ring and then at him. And he kept kissing her forehead in this tender, loving way that I thought was reserved just for me. I sat there in complete shock, watching the man I thought I was in love with celebrate his engagement to another woman. I felt like I was going to throw up. My hands were shaking and I couldn't breathe properly. This had to be a mistake. This had to be some kind of misunderstanding. But then I heard them talking as they walked closer to the car. Her voice was high and excited, and she was saying, "I wasn't his girlfriend, can't believe you finally did it. I've been waiting for this for so long." And his voice, the voice that had whispered sweet things in my ear just hours before, was saying, "I'm sorry it took me so long, baby. You know, I wanted everything to be perfect for you." That's when it hit me. I wasn't his girlfriend. I was his side piece. I was the woman he was cheating with while he was planning to propose to someone else. I was the secret he kept hidden while he built a future with another woman. I could have confronted him right then and there. I could have gotten out of the car and demanded answers. But I was so stunned, so humiliated that I just sat there like a statue, watching my entire reality crumble around me. Christopher walked back to the car alone and the woman got into a white Mercedes parked nearby. He got in beside me with this guilty look on his face and I knew that he knew that I had seen everything. "Who was that?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He didn't even try to lie. Maybe he was tired of lying. Or maybe he just didn't care anymore. "That's Amanda," he said, not looking at me. "She's my fiancée." Fiancée. The word hit me like a slap across the face. "How long?" I asked. "We've been together for 2 years," he said quietly. "The engagement has been planned for months." He said quietly 2 years. While I was falling for him, while I was imagining a future with him, while I was defending his need for privacy to my friends, he was planning to marry someone else. Someone who got to meet his friends. Someone who got to go to his house. Someone who got to wear his ring. I asked him to take me home and we drove in complete silence. When we got to my apartment, I finally found my voice. "Why me?" I asked. "Why did you do this to me?" And you know what he said? He said, "Come on, you had to know what this was. You're a smart woman. Did you really think someone like me would end up with someone like you? Someone like me." Those words will haunt me forever. In that moment, he didn't just break my heart. He tried to break my spirit. He tried to make me believe that I was never good enough for real love, that I should have been grateful for the crumbs he was giving me. I got out of that car and ran into my apartment and I cried harder than I had ever cried in my life. I felt so stupid, so naive, so I cried harder, completely worthless. How could I have been so blind? How could I have let myself believe that I was special to him when all the signs pointed to the opposite? But after the tears dried, something else took over. Anger. Pure, righteous anger. I wasn't going to let him get away with this. I wasn't going to let him destroy me and move on with his perfect life like I never existed. I started digging. I found Amanda's social media accounts and I saw their whole life together. Pictures of them at events, vacations, family gatherings, all the things I never got to be part of. I saw posts from months ago about how excited she was for what's coming next and how some people are worth waiting for. She had no idea that her perfect boyfriend was cheating on her. I found out where she worked and I sent her a message. I told her everything. I sent her screenshots of text messages between Christopher and me, photos of us together, receipts from all the places he had taken me. I told her that she deserved to know the truth before she married him. She called me that same night crying. She thanked me for telling her and said she had had suspicions but never wanted to believe them. She broke off the engagement the next day. Christopher called me dozens of times after that, begging me to take him back, saying he had made a mistake, that he realized he loved me all along. But I was done. I was done being someone's secret, someone's backup plan, someone's someone like you. This experience taught me something crucial about self-worth. I realized that I had been so hungry for validation, so desperate to be chosen, that I had accepted being hidden. I had accepted being treated like I was less than because I thought that was the best. Here's what I know I could get. But here's what I know now. If someone can't proudly claim you in public, they don't deserve you in private. If someone makes you feel like you have to earn their love, they're not the right person for you. If someone treats you like a secret, it's because they know you're too good for them, not the other way around. I learned to recognize the signs of someone who's keeping you as an option rather than making you a priority. I learned that real love doesn't hide in the shadows. It stands in the light and says, "This is my person, and I'm proud to be with them." 2 years later, I met my husband and the difference was like night and day. He introduced me to his friends on our second date. He posted pictures of us together after our first month of dating. He brought me to his family's house for Sunday dinner without me having to ask. He never made me feel like I was too much or not enough. He made me feel like I was exactly right. The woman who waited in that car outside Tiffany & Company was broken. But she wasn't defeated. She learned that her worth wasn't determined by someone else's inability to see it. She learned that she deserved more than crumbs from someone else's table. And that's what I want every woman watching this to understand. You are not someone's secret. You are not someone's backup plan. You are not someone like you. You are worthy of real love, public love, proud love. Don't ever let anyone convince you otherwise. Ladies, if someone can't proudly claim you in public, they don't deserve you in private. Your worth isn't determined by someone else's inability to see it. Drop a heart in the comments if this story resonated with you and share it with any woman who needs to hear this message. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell because next week I'm sharing how I met my husband. And trust me, the difference was like night and day. Remember, you are enough exactly as you.